1. Where are we live? We are live in Facebook. We are live in LinkedIn. We're live in YouTube. Hello, everyone. We get Deepti from Canada, as you can see in the title, study startup specialist, and we're going to get into her career, her background, what she would like to achieve in the industry in the future, and all that kind of stuff. So, welcome, Deepti. Can you just introduce yourself to everybody, please?
Thank you. It's so exciting to be on this platform. I was telling Chris earlier, I've been following Dan and Chris in the channel for a long time now, and it's very exciting, to say the least, to be on here talking to you both and Margot. So just a brief background about me. So I'm originally from India. I moved to the US about 11, 12 years ago to do my master's in clinical research management. And then I was working there up until about 2 years ago. And then me and my family, we moved to Canada in the Toronto area, where I work as a study startup specialist for Big Pharma.
I love it. And what do you do? What can you explain to the people out there who are trying to learn what a study startup specialist is and what it does? And hello, Jinko, how's it going?
Sure. So a study startup specialist, like the title alludes to, we work with study sites to get them up and running for the clinical trials in various therapeutic areas. So as we all know, you can't just start a clinical trial at a site. It's a team effort. There's a lot going on behind the scenes on the sponsor side. So driving activation.
Did you work personally, Deepti, with the sites? Like, were you the one calling the sites and saying, hey, why are we not getting started quicker or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm the pesky. I can be pesky, the one trying to ask questions from the sponsor side to make sure all the roadblocks are removed and help them facilitate and get to activation, so they have enough time.
How did you get the job? Like, can you walk us through that process? How does one even do that? Because a lot of people watching right now are probably like, "Oh, Deepti, how is this even possible? Did you how many applications and what was the process like?"
Sure. So, like I said, I was working with at the sites in the US like 10, 11 years, and I have always wanted to transition to industry, but I'd always heard that it was very difficult, and somehow the CRA route was the only thing that was being told to me, that's talk to your CRA or start there and then go from there. But somehow that's not what the CRA role didn't speak to me. So after we moved to Canada, I was like, I'm just gonna start applying and we'll see how it goes. So I applied at a few places, and actually this job that I'm at right now, it clicked pretty quickly. And I had applied, and within a month I had the offer in my hand. And in between that time, I reached out to the recruiter on LinkedIn, actually, and I wrote this big spiel which explained how I'm the one and they need me and why, and how this is, you got to give me a chance. Because it was always on my mind that I don't have any industry experience. And so all the industry jobs is like, you have to have at least 1 year experience or 6 months or 2 years or whatever. And mine was all in the academia. So I had that in my mind. So I had to make sure, I stood out somehow. So yeah, so the recruiter from the company, she called, and we went from there. And I think it was the right place, right timing type of a thing as well. The role was supporting U.S. sites, and I'd come from the U.S. having worked at U.S. sites. I think that probably helped. And honestly, I didn't know what to expect when I went into the interview. I knew it was Big Pharma, and that's where I wanted to be. But I was like, I know what I've got and what my skills are, and I'm just gonna speak to them, and we'll see how it goes.
And it's awesome that you say that, because so sorry, Dan.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, Deepti, it's so nice of you to come on live because I know the comments gonna start coming in very soon.
Mhm.
And well, like the job that you have is very desirable for a lot of people to get in the industry, and it was very last minute. I mean, we just messaged each other today, and it's like, hey, can you go live? And oh, by the way, I'm gonna have 3 more people try to be on, and we'll have a conversation. But I think people are gonna get value out of this. I think, and if you guys watching in the comments on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, as we talk, feel free to put your comments. We're gonna put them on the screen, and we're gonna try to help not just the viewers, but Deepti, but all of us as well. Like learn more about the industry, learn more about the process, learn more about the opportunities in this space because there are lots of opportunities. So keep the questions coming. And Deepti, do you have an iPhone? What kind of phone do you have?
I do. I have an iPhone.
You would kill it on Clubhouse.
Make sure to join. What's going to be after this? So,
We're
and
gonna have a
all those that
Clubhouse
are
in
listening.
45 minutes. If you want to
Okay.
invite, I'll LinkedIn it to you.
Okay.
We have question also. From Yogi. Yogi, shout out to Yogi. Does Deepti have a biotech background?
I do actually. I have a bachelor's and a master's in biotechnology from India.
That's awesome. And something I actually wanted to mention about what you were talking about, your process that what you went through, right? I do believe that yes, it's definitely a part of being at the right place at the right time and the kind of scenario. But I think the fact that like you said it with kind of conviction that you knew your skills, you knew what you had, you just, were looking for the opportunity. And because you're confident and you know what you come with, regardless whether it's actual, background or no background, the point is that, you went out of your way, you wrote a whole thing to a recruiter explaining your reason, not saying, hey, here's my resume, or hey, I'm a good pick. You're actually writing a whole paragraph. That's enough to catch somebody's attention, even if they don't read it, So things like that really stick out to me, and I'm like super happy that you mentioned that. And people that are listening, if you're looking for a job right now, perfect example of what things you should be considering doing when you're applying to jobs.
Yeah, I think the power of follow-up.
Oh, follow up.
Yeah, like
I just want to say, hey, Tamila, the Clubhouse link will work. You just have to download the app, and then you just put CT Guru. Just follow it. You've been referred. It will work, and we'll have Deepti on there too because she's gonna. I have a feeling you're gonna have quite a following, Deepti, after this live stream, and then after Clubhouse if you get on it. But sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's fine. No, I was just saying, like, the power of follow-up. It feels like it's going in this black hole and it's not going anywhere, but you don't know. And so the only way to move forward is to keep trying, because you don't know how close you are to anything until you get to it. So you just have to keep at it, however difficult and tough it is.
Great advice. I agree. I agree. I had to do a lot of follow-up when I was, with my applications.
The art of the follow-up. I have some advice, Deepti. Well, first of all, what is your goal for the future, like in your career, like career projections, trajectory? Like, what is just give us a little bit of that.
So, like I said, like the CRA route was what I had always heard of. So, having now successfully transitioned to the industry, I'm seeing, you're exposed to so many things you didn't know existed behind the scenes. Like, there's like so many things going on to make a trial successful, but what those really are is really having come on this side now, I'm seeing a lot of things, and the way I see it, and I've always wanted to be on the sponsor side, ultimately, managing and planning the trials. So right now I'm focused on a specific country, clinical operations. I would like to move on, like long term would be global operations. And
you know what you have going for you? Like I'm very excited. I'm very bullish. If you were a stock, I would probably invest some money into it. But you have experience. We're not going to mention the sponsor, but you have experience working at a sponsor as a study startup specialist. You've probably also done other things tangentially related to your role. And I think one of the things I've been preaching, I mean, I did like This is why I'm eating. I hadn't like all I was doing was videos today, so I apologize for eating, guys. But this is the only way I get my meals. But every single interview we did was about data, was about technology, was about the long tail of research. And so how if you work for like a big pharma or a CRO, you're gonna be like the most valuable player at a small biotech that's just getting started. Whereas where you currently are, maybe you're just one of many. You're like a cog in the wheel. But at the small cap biotech, like look at companies like Kintara, KMPH, all the biotechs I review and then we review with the clinical research circle as well. The small is the new big. So I think Deepti, you have a lot going for you when it comes to reaching out to these smaller biotechs. And you know the best thing about it, you can find their contact info on clinicaltrials.gov. Most of these people, and on LinkedIn, and you can find these people who work there on LinkedIn. And you could start talking to them in their comments, in their posts. You can share, and so see, you're already inspiring people. So this is what the comments that they're saying. Keep the comments coming. Keep it a like, guys, and gals. Actually, mostly gals and guys. You need to do likes, comment, subscribe. We have to get the algorithm. We have to shatter the algorithm, and get the views parabolic.
So
Chris
DT,
wants to talk.
Well, I just have a question. What specifically, or what are your responsibilities as a study startup specialist?
Yeah, so as a study startup specialist, it starts from, a site list that has X number of sites on it. It's a large list, and you have to really work through the list to figure out which are your quote unquote quality sites. But, every trial has different needs. So whatever, based on the needs of the trial, you would pick the sites and the capabilities that the sites have. So it starts with feasibility, which is usually very intense because you're doing calls with sites. Before you select the sites, right now everything is remote, so it's an interesting scenario. So you do that, and then after you've figured out which sites you're selecting, then it goes into startup mode, where you work with every single site to work with their IRB and the reg docs, the contracts, all the whole shebang to get to activation.
So are you handling the contracts, or are you handling regulatory? Are you handling feasibilities? Or are you handling all? All, really?
Right. We do a little bit with the contracts, but we have, we play a role in like the setup of the budget and making sure it is what it's supposed to be and things like that. And we it's an outsourced to another group that actually does the negotiations.
Okay, so you're not negotiating. You set it up. Okay.
Not totally, but it does come to us to discuss.
Yeah, no, thank you, Chris. I mean, this is why I love Chris. We joke around all the time, but Chris asked the poignant questions because a lot of our students, I see what you did here, Chris, right there. I see what you did there, Chris, because a lot of our students, they come out of CRA Academy, CRC Academy, and they're like, oh, well, just like Deepti, well, I want to be a CRA. And it's like, do you realize there are dozens of roles, hundreds that are not CRA, but like study startup specialists. And if you're not on LinkedIn or YouTube watching live stream or like talking to people, you're never gonna know. You're just gonna hear the CRA and CRC, and it's like, no, look what Deepti is doing. And Deepti, I think there's a lot of gold for you in the long tail of the biotech, because I do think we were talking on LinkedIn. I think the sponsor is the best place to work, quality of life. I think Chris would agree with me too. Sponsor is the best by far. There's no comparison. CRO, it's like a factory, right? They're trying to get better, but at the end of the day, they're not a sponsor, right? They're a service provider. So their business models are designed different. They're not the study sponsor. So I think at the sponsor level, you have a lot of opportunity in the long tail. And I know one of these drug companies, they're not going to be Pfizer, right? But they're going to be like Kintara Therapeutics that most people never heard of. They're probably looking for study startup specialists who have been doing what you've been doing for years or like a few years and ready to take them to be like the head of that department, right? So there's a lot of opportunities there.
Yeah,
Lots of
Right.
DP.
that's funny that you mentioned that, Dan, because like for me, for example, I'm with the global CRO, and I was like that. I'm like, I want to be a RSM, CRA. I really want like to get my feet wet with that and all that. Now that I'm there and I'm about to hit, a year with the CRO in June, I've realized through the process that I actually really enjoy the organizing aspect of it, the communication with the sites. I'm not really too fond of just the same, follow up, like the same type of follow up, which is more CRA aspect, I think. And so, hearing you say this, I'm like, oh, it's more like project management. It's more like hands on. I really like that. That suits more to my background and my previous experience. And so, I think that, definitely like Chris and Dan, what you're saying about students coming out, CRA Academy, CRC Academy, you have this just one track mind as like, this is where I want to go and this is what I want to do. But once you get there, you start seeing the marketing aspect, the recruitment, the managerial aspect, the project management, even just regular management. And so you just start seeing all these things and realizing like, yeah, I don't like this, but I like that. And so yeah, definitely want to get your feet wet, but don't just, minimize your options by just, oh, these positions only. Remember, you can go in regulatory and still come this way. You just want to get your feet wet, get an idea of
Right.
what's out there.
Right. And there's a lot of transferable skills too
Mhm.
that you have to keep in mind. Like one thing that helped me before I was before transitioning was I'd set up these alerts to send me jobs when I was not looking for them. I've been doing that for years now, actually.
That's
Like
smart.
the keyword is just clinical research or clinical trials, and that's it. And I get all these job alerts just so I know what's out there and what all is really out there. You wouldn't
Yeah,
know in your own little world, but by that, I've really been exposed to all the different types of titles, and titles don't really always go with the description. So you really
exactly.
hone in on the description. So that's something that has helped me
That's
for
awesome.
sure.
Yeah, I do tell my clients that all the time for the AM approach, where I go over the application process, document process, that you have titles. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be doing the same thing as another CRC here, as a CRC there, RSM, CRA. Like it's all dependent on the actual location and also the process of the human resources and how they do documenting. But the fact that you had a job and you were still being open-minded with your possibilities moving forward is amazing, because people should be doing that. There's always going to be opportunities, and on top of that, you start learning about which pathways are available
Mm-hmm.
and keeping that in your mindset as far as where you could move later, and seeing how you're going to have to mold yourself, like what do you need
Exactly.
to learn about to go that route, right? So I think that's awesome, that exceptional way of thinking and process, because I mean, I honestly haven't came across anybody else that's told me that they've done that, and that's awesome.
Yeah, it kind of helps you in your personal professional development as well. So you have a sort of a path to carve out for yourself, and you have a little more, um, you know, got,
Knowledge.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
And I because
pointers.
most people, what I've seen with most people is that they, once they get in, they just kind of start taking all these certification, and that's good, right? Once for instance, have gone through the academies and gotten a job, but you don't want to just be taking random certifications. Yes, it kind of makes you a generalist, but you're not really going anywhere. You're just kind of broadening your knowledge set, and then you're not knowing where you can direct it, right? So I think
Mm-hmm.
the way you just said it, I think that's one of the best ways to go about it, is being mindful and directing yourself as you go forward. Antoinette Hamilton has asked, is your position mostly remote or do you go on site?
So pre-COVID times, it was a combination of office and remote job, but now it's all completely remote. Either way, we don't go to the study sites. I actually support the U.S. study sites, and I'm in Canada.
That's awesome. I
Awesome.
think even that is better, even more bullish for your career prospects. It's just I talked to this group called Zymewire earlier today, and they're a tech company that focuses on biz dev for sites and CROs. But there's something there for the independent contractor as well, or like the job seekers. if you find out who these biotech companies are, and you can reach these people, especially that you have US site experience, almost everybody's gonna would love to have you there on that long tail. You know, when we work for companies, we often get blinded by all we know is our one company, and if it's a big company, you know, we just think the whole world is that company. It's not. There's a long tail, you know, of biotech. It doesn't end, and the new ones come out every day. New ones get funding. So Deepti for sure. I'm even more bullish now. We got more questions. Jinkal Patel, thank you. And you still looking entry level job in clinical research? Yeah. Come on, Jinkal, you can do it. Now is the year to do it. Stephanie says I'm gonna be a CRC.
Awesome. Like the
How
word you said.
yeah, Antoinette, how do I find other roles besides the usual? How did you find Deep? How did you find the other roles?
So yeah, like I said, I had my eyes open. I have had it open for a long time, and when you're really looking, you just keep an open mind. The title may or may not mean anything, but you at least you get started. So I mean, the usual LinkedIn, Indeed, you know, all the career websites out there, and even the company websites. For sure.
Would you say that out of all the websites that you've utilized, even including like the actual companies, do you think that LinkedIn has probably held the most weight?
It has.
Yeah. So
has.
do you personally like utilize your profile like to its fullest?
I do. I make sure it's updated. It's like a resume that speaks for itself. And
Exactly.
Oh yeah,
you
Deepti is good too. She networks too. Like she messaged me, talk all the time. She leaves comments. Like she's using LinkedIn the right way, and I think a lot of people can learn from Deepti. And this is why we bring people on, because look at somebody's right now, Vinita. Oh my God, so
Whoa,
good to see you on
hi.
here, Deepti.
Hi,
Look at you
Benita.
already have fans because of how you're using LinkedIn. It's amazing.
We work
And she's
together.
on LinkedIn.
Awesome.
Oh, you work together. Okay. Shout out to Vinita.
Hi.
Okay, who else? Let's go through more comments. But did you have anything, Ashley, that you wanted to add? I know you have you deal with this all the time. This kind of career
Yeah.
progressions.
So I would say that, and I'm pretty sure you can attest to it, Deepti, is that LinkedIn is a virtual resume, right? It's a virtual resume, knowing how to utilize it, understanding the algorithm, also learning how to utilize like the job portion section and how to accurately, because a lot of people don't do this accurately, but how to accurately, reach out to find them very specific to your location, how to utilize the job postings and what to look for in those job postings. Because some people, I think what they just do is they're in such a rush to get a job that they're just, picking one up, just looking at the title real quick and just applying, not realizing that, they probably don't have a really good fit, or, um, the resume is just not what's being asked or required, and they're just, putting stuff out there, already setting a bad first start with these recruiters, and so especially because I would say recruiters, from what I understand so far with some recruiters, is that they're regionally based. So like with my organization, there's certain recruiters within my region that handle within my region. That could be different now, given that there's a huge influx of hiring. But so if you're constantly applying to these positions, these same recruiters are seeing your application over and over again. If you're making a wrong impression, you're gonna leave an impression. So I think, I don't think people think that deep into their process. And now that everything's virtual and it's just it's moving faster, I think it's very different than what the job market and the whole process, what it used to be maybe 5 years ago, maybe even 3 years ago, to be quite honest. Now with COVID and everything that happened, it's just completely, I think it's gone, how do they say, quantum leaping into a whole other phase of virtual applications and virtual presence, not just as a person but as a professional. So, but yeah, I mean, thank you for making mention of those things, because again, not a lot of people consider all that stuff. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got oh, sorry, Deepti.
No, go ahead.
You would do well at the Clubhouse too. We have to get you an invite.
Yeah,
there.
you should definitely join. If
Yeah.
I don't, you haven't been on there, we have some major people on there. We have site owners. We have shout out to Lindsay. I don't know if she's on here or not, but Lindsay is amazing. She's a recruiter for pharma, I think biotech as well, and research. I think within the Midwest. I could be wrong. Please don't take that.
Yeah,
Don't quote
Boulder,
me.
Colorado. Boulder,
Yeah,
Colorado.
and she's really amazing. She's a recruiter there.
Amazing
She's very
recruiter.
helpful, very helpful. And but it's just a really great place to network, really, and you get to.
She's the cream of the crop in the space for recruiting. Okay, Julian says it also keeps the anxiety down knowing there are other opportunities out there when you're ready.
Exactly.
I don't know. I think we can end it with this because there's more comments. We won't end it, but that's exactly right. Exactly right. See, Deepti, this is what I'm so bullish on your career. I mean, you're at the sweet spot where you got some years under your belt, and now you can literally go in any direction you would like. With enough work, and some of the people in the comments are saying the same thing too. Christine Naro, hello.
Hey, Christine.
Hello,
Latinos in
Christine.
Clinical Research Ambassador.
Yeah, she says check out the jobs on Latinos in Clinical Research website. That's true.
Exactly.
That's true. I have to right now. I'm updating them manually one by one, guys, but they're up there. They're up there.
We've already had people get hired through that.
We had people get hired. And Antoinette, look at small CROs and biotechs. See, Antoinette joined late and saying the same thing I'm saying. Guys, I'm not making this stuff up. People think I just make things. This not look. People joining late don't even hear me saying the same thing.
She says she manages the steady startup department, and small organizations have a lot of opportunities. There you go. It's very similar stuff.
Deepti, that's a contact for you.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yep. Making notes.
And then
take a picture, screenshot right there. Okay, Christine's talking about Clubhouse. That's right. Okay, we got a long one. It's gonna cover all our faces. Let's see how this is gonna work. It's gonna cover. Oh, sorry, Deepti. Temporarily cover your face, okay? Hold on.
That's fine.
I am a CRC in genetic division. All of our trials are industry sponsored. We work closely with study startup specialists providing all regulatory documents. CRC job is very hard due to how complex gene therapy trials are. Our screening visits can be up to 4 days long. Every day is very different. Question, do you get bored? Can you do that for a long time? I am a CRC and I want to become a CRA. So that's, I guess, questions for you, Deepti. And then we'll answer that too. But go ahead, Deepti first.
Yeah, so I guess he's asking if I get bored doing my job.
Yeah, well, I guess do
job.
Are you sure you want to say yes on public?
No, I don't. I love what I do, and I'm not making this up just to say this live. Because I get to do a lot of different things, and this has been sort of the theme of my career throughout. Like I have done the job, but other than that, I have also made sure I have been involved with other projects or initiatives going on within the company or another institution that I've worked at. So as such, the job, I mean, there's just so much. It's definitely not monotonous, to say the least. There are some parts of it that I'm a bigger fan of than not. Like feasibility is intense, but I enjoy it. The documentation, we all know how that goes. But it's at the end of the day, the end goal is getting your trials up and running, so you are ultimately helping the patients, and that end goal keeps the drive going for sure.
I think maybe to answer what that person was asking, I also think that it comes down to what we were just discussing a little bit ago, DP, was that for you, like you just said, you're also making a point to get involved with other projects, right? You want to personal development, growth. You're actually taking it that step further other than just your job. So, if my advice would be, if you find yourself in that space or that situation, either get involved elsewhere if you have the opportunities. If not, be mindful of what it is that you like and enjoy, and see what aspect of your job does or doesn't give you that, and see where you can take that. Because if you aren't enjoying your CRC position, your CRA position, other than traveling and doing the monitoring aspect, you might not be too crazy different, other than seeing other sites, right? So you want to just be very mindful of what it is that you enjoy out of clinical research, and see how you can maneuver into maybe even a different sphere of clinical research that is more, tweaked to what you like.
Another question.
Mhm.
Aravind, what phase of clinical trials did Deepthi had worked on as a study startup specialist? Any experience on a phase 3? And what are the challenges in each startup? Good question. Very good.
Yeah, so it's I've been working on phase 3 clinical trials in this role, and the challenge is that every site is different. You have to work through the different scenarios that every site study startup has, and then the challenges that comes with IRB review and approval, and working with every team at the site is different. So it's not a one size fits all. So you have to really work quickly in tight timelines, for sure, and that's
I
been the
have a
biggest
question.
challenge. Mhm.
I have a question. I think Chris Sauber will also like this one. Do you guys, as a study startup specialist, keep track of the sites in a database of how quickly they complete their documents? Do you keep this?
We do.
You see, guys, you have to pay attention, and they're keeping metrics on everything you do as a site. So, like,
Yeah.
what do you keep? Like, how quickly they did each form, or like just total?
It's just various metrics. It's the total startup timeline, of course, but there's different parts within startup, like contracts, IRB, and it's important in the decision making. It's not just about, oh, this site is good or bad based on metrics. It's because it's feeding into actually getting that trial up and running and getting to the patients, the medicine to the patients that much quicker. Uh, uh, it's very important. The metrics are very important, and with data science now and just analytics, it's getting easier to track that and use that, leverage that for us.
Yeah, I
All
mean,
right, very
also
good.
to
That's what
mention
I
that,
thought.
but at my CRO, we also do a monthly metrics to see how we're doing with like our overall monitoring virtually with the sites and stuff. So yeah, I think that's definitely a across the board thing with CROs and sponsors for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You guys keep
Yep.
track of all your data if you're a site. Look, they're tracking everything you're doing. Okay, and then this is the future of research. Is if you're going to differentiate yourself from another site, Antoinette says yes, metrics are so important. If you want to stay relevant, you got to start tracking as a site everything you can. That's reasonable. Like don't break the budget. If it's reasonable and you can track it and collect it, do it. You're going to be better off for it in 2031. It's just I'm willing to go out on a limb and say that that's going to be the case. So, anything else, guys? Deepti, how can we help you? What kind of people do you want to network with on LinkedIn? And we hope to get you on a Clubhouse.
Yeah.
Thank you. So basically, like I mentioned to you earlier, Dan, on LinkedIn messaging, I'm always looking for people that will guide me on my career path. I may be thinking one thing for what I want to do next or what I should be looking at, but there may be people out there with experience that will be able to guide me, that have a different viewpoint to tell me, okay, this, based on what you've done and what your interests are, this may be a better way to take this, or some guardrails that I can get from experienced people. So that's the kind of people I want to network with, for sure, for personal. professional, ulterior motives. But other than just even otherwise, networking with people to know what they do. I do like random informational videos too with people, just because I want to know. Like even if back in the day when we could get on a plane and go places pre-COVID times, I used to just talk to people, and I've met people on the plane that are like have their own consultancy in clinical trials, and I'm like, oh, okay, all right, this was back in the day when I was very new, so I would get talking to them to see what it is that they do and learn from that. So that's what I would say.
Awesome. Ooh, I think Dan cut out. Okay, you're good, Dan.
What skill sets would you say are needed to succeed in your role, Deepti?
Sure, that's a great question. So definitely attention to detail, being able to work under like really strict timelines, being able to pivot as you go, because things change and you have to change your strategy and how you've planned certain things. Being agile is important, and just being able to communicate clearly from the get-go, because a startup, it can make or break the situation for a clinical trial, and so it's really you who's driving all these timelines for the entire trial. So communication also would be key. All the regulations, of course, you have to keep up to date and keep up with all of that, and that's a given no matter what role you're in.
All right, very good. Anyone else have questions? If not, we thank you, Deepti. Everybody go follow Deepti. We're going to put links to her LinkedIn underneath if you're watching on YouTube. And go connect with her. And thank you very much, Deepti, for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Margot
Thank you for having
and
me.
Chris as well. And keep networking. And this is good for our careers, for everybody. We all can help each other by teaching one another. And I think the magic is in the long tail of the opportunities out there. It's not just big pharma. So thank you guys. I appreciate it all, and catch you all later.
Thank you.
Nice
Thank
meeting
you
you.
for having
Bye.
me.
Nice meeting you.
Thank
Everybody have a
you.
good weekend.
You too.
Have a good
Bye.
weekend, guys.
Happy
Bye.
Easter.
You too.